What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Headless is Magical Mailbag. I got my co host Nick with me. I got to tell you, Nick, your episode on Tycho Brahe was just amazing.
Thank you.
I love that
I really had a great time actually making it. I thoroughly enjoyed that one for sure.
I love how you got into the technical details as well as like his wild madcap sort of lifestyle as well. It's like this contrast of this guy is amazing.
Yeah, that's why I even said at the beginning. I really wanted to give people like an idea of like what kind of like what was it like in the Renaissance life? And it's like, yo, those motherfuckers were like no like weirder. I mean, they were just as weird as we are now. And the thing is, like, what I found interesting is like that stuff probably wasn't considered all that weird then, but yet for some reason it would be now to have like to entertain a dwarf's channelings or just like certain things. It was just interesting to show that that's what people entertained back then, and that's the links they went to try to figure out knowledge or truth.
Well, you taught me something too. The drunken elk that fell down the stairs was actually a fucking moose.
Yeah.
Moose. It wasn't an elk.
That's
like 500 pounds bigger.
That's probably fell and like crushed its neck from the fall. Right. The weight on it. Yeah,
that's amazing. And so he's just getting elk drunk in his castle, and they bulldozed his castles after he was gone.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that too. Yeah, and then eventually, like they redid them to like reconstructed like a tiny bit, but yeah, I was like, just like, damn, like you just like you don't even want to try to repurpose that. Like what the fuck? I mean, especially a place that was sucking up 1% of the country's budget.
Right. Well, I didn't know what they expected to get out of it. I mean, if they're funding all this stuff, like how exactly are they getting something back then? But I guess there was a thriving arts community, and that was sort of like the arts, and you had to have these noblemen who were contributing to the arts, and this was his whole life, I mean, he was supposed to be going to school for lawyer or whatever, and he's just like, let's put that aside and go back to the astronomy.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool too. So he pulled that off.
Right.
Yeah, he was going for law, and then was like, I think I'm going to do this.
I can go on about Tycho all day. I mean, the guy was amazing.
Yeah. Oh God!
Why don't they have movies about him? I mean, come on.
No, right? You could. Yeah, I mean, even seriously, like his story would like make like almost like comical and like serious too. You know what I'm saying? Like very entertaining. It could be a very entertaining movie.
You call it a period piece, and you can just call it Tycho, and you've got all these scenes just in the trailer. I could see it now. He's getting his nose slashed. He's got elk falling down the stairs. He's got a midget coming out from under the table. It would be amazing.
Yo, for real. Right? There's like so much to work with there. That's like a National Lampoon's movie come true. Storyline come true.
Well, we'll see. I think there's so many characters in history that are just so ripe for, like making a movie out of it and really digging into the material and staying accurate to history as well, because there's so much stuff in there, But I think one of the interesting things, if we can get into the symbols, that I'd like to see a movie of without the whole, video game aesthetic, would have to be the Ismaili, right? So this is the Hashashins. If you've ever heard of the Assassins Guild, it was actually a real thing. And so in the Caspian Sea region of Iran, from about 1030 to the 1200s, there was this group that was literally called the Assassins. They had a couple of castles, and their whole shtick was mind control and covert murder, right? And so the Ismaili assassins keep popping up throughout all of history. And I thought this was kind of appropriate since, what we're going through as a country right now. Maybe you should know your enemy a little bit. So this is how it works, right? What they do is they brainwash people into murdering prominent individuals. And this was their main method of operation. So they would be contracted out to surrounding kingdoms, and they worked a lot with the Knights Templar as well. These guys had a very complex relationship politically with their rivals and other other gangs that basically, amounted to a kind of drugged out MK Ultra before MK Ultra program that I think really stands the test of time as an example for people who are just bloodthirsty and power hungry. So if you want to get them out of the way, you better hire an assassin from the Assassin's Guild. And, maybe they would leave calling cards behind. I know that was the idea. You wanted to let everybody know that we're the assassins, you can't touch us, and we're going to murder you. So maybe they would use numbers like 33, maybe over and over again, 33 all the time, just to let everybody know, hey, it was us that did this.
Like they do now in the news.
There you go. So I think if they did have this intimate connection with the Templars, there might be something to say about what then became the Freemasons and why they use this 33 number over and over. Right? So the complex relationships that they had carried on in spirit, maybe not just the people. So the way that the assassins would work is they would take slaves off of the street, brainwash them into, this is the Marco Polo rendition, right? So Marco Polo said what they would do is they would kidnap a slave off the street, and then they would say that, we have a way for you to see paradise. And they would get them all drugged up. This is where the idea of hash comes in, right? So hash is, this, marijuana oil that they would drug these people with until they were in kind of a stupor, right? Really powerful marijuana oil. And so they would take them to these castles, and the courtyards of the castles would be filled with all these women. And they would say, all this stuff in the Quran, you're looking at paradise right now. And they'd be all drugged up. And then they'd knock them out again and be like, look, all you have to do to get to paradise is to fulfill the mission that we've given you and go kill your master, right? Do it in front of everybody and then kill yourself. And then you'll be right back here. Obviously it was, not said it was a real place, but it was more like a spiritual place. And so Marco Polo's relating the story of the assassins where they would drug people, tell them that they're going to a better place, and then get them to kill somebody. And in the story, Marco Polo apparently went to one of these castles, and the king there told all of his servants to climb up on the walls. And then as soon as he gave the orders, all those servants just jumped off the walls and killed themselves immediately because they were brainwashed into this sort of thing. And he also used stage magic a little bit, brutal stage magic, by the way. This is what comes through Bill Cooper in his Mystery Babylon series. So he covered a lot of this extensively. And he said that the king would take a hollowed out crate or like a hollowed out floor and then put somebody inside of it and then tell all of his guests or his servants that he has the ability to reanimate dead material. And so they would all come in and look at this head, and the head would start prophesying. It was a guy in the floor. And then after the prophecy was over, he would chop the head off just to prove to everybody that it was already dead or something like that, right? So this whole thing was sort of like a stage magic kind of setup. But now he can reanimate matter and everything else. So there's a lot of interesting factors in what goes into the Ismaili and what we see as our popular narratives in society right now is we're kind of given this whole stage magic, and then we dissect that stage magic. We find that it's full of holes, but then we're given another narrative to sort of fill in for the holes, and then given another narrative, but we're not actually given the actual evidence or the truth that can allow us to have that mental freedom of knowing what actually happened. So that's my symbol, the Hashashin's Guild seal.
I have never heard of that before.
Check them out. Ismaili, it's spelled so you can look it up. It is, all right, so this is also Persian and Romanized and all sorts of other stuff. ISMA apostrophe ILI, Ismaili. right? That's the Persian version. And it was founded by Hassan el-Sabah, 1090 AD. So, yeah, check it out. Start tracking it through history. Check out Bill Cooper's Mystery Babylon. If you really want to get deep into the history, he sort of goes into it a lot. But you know the what's it called? The Shriners.
Yeah.
Yeah, big Hashashin roots in the Shriners, big time. That's an inner order of the Freemasons. So it's like, what are a bunch of white people doing going around with fezzes and all of this Middle Eastern aesthetic? That's kind of where they're getting it from, is like, we're the League of Assassins. Right? So the idea that they're wearing the red fez is kind of interesting, because that was kind of a propaganda tool for the Europeans. They said that the Turks would dip their fezzes in European blood. That's why they had the red fezzes. And then you got all these people who are related to the assassins all over the United States, and they're just saying, oh, it's just an aesthetic thing. Is it? It's kind of strange.
I think most of these people that don these outfits and wear this shit have no idea what the fuck it means.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Kind of like assassin slaves.
Whatever good old boy story somebody tells them, they'll think, oh, that sounds great. I'll go with that.
Right. Because they're just joining a social club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let's see. What'd you bring us today? Ooh, that looks interesting.
Mercurial ring. All right. What do we got here? This is a Mercurial ring, Anillo di Mercurio from Alfonso X's Libro di Astromagia. It's a 13th century talismanic ring design tied to the planet Mercury, depicted in the Spanish astromagical compilation known as the Libro di Astromagia, Book of Astromagic. Surviving miniatures, which is those little drawing things, show a magician empowered by Mercury. One image even labels the scene Anillo di Mercurio and depicts the spirit appearing as a rider or on a winged elephant while the practitioner works within a ritual rectangle. And where does it first show up in this book? And that is in the late 1270s, early 1280s. The only manuscript is in the Vatican Library now. Contemporary and later inventories describe its contents as one 14th century French library note even its contents. One 14th century French library note even mentions the closing rubric as Otro Anillo di Mercurio, another ring of Mercury, confirming multiple mercurial ring recipes or figures in the book. The manuscript circulated in France and ultimately entered the Vatican collection, where it was rediscovered for scholarship in 1911. Where have you seen it, or where is it used historically? Again, it's part of a broader astronomical program alongside with Libro di las Formas, a whole bunch of other words. And it also, a lot of times, it also gets like paired up with stuff from the Picatrix. It's also cataloged among astronomy and astrology books with painted figures, later owned by collectors like Paul Pitot before entering Queen Christina of Sweden's library and then the Vatican. The work is presented today in facsimiles and overviews. It's because there's really no books around. What it means in medieval magic, image magic, Mercury governs eloquence, memory, learning, craft, and clever negotiation. The mercurial ring is a wearable talisman meant to capture mercurial influence at a chosen astrological moment. Alfonso's images directly parallel Picatrix style instructions for planetary rings and talismans. There's times to work with Mercury and stuff like that. They also engrave and inscribe appropriate characters and images. And this is another one where I think I had mentioned this one other time. In this one, it is mentioned to fumigate with subtle aromatics and consecrate with invocations. Some Astromagica scenes even specify conditions like Mercury and Libra and show an angel handing the ring to the image. Again, like how it was used in the ritual. Again, they would use those like miniatures, and the magician would stand within a magic rectangle, and they would fumigate, and they would do their invocation. But there is also, again, that protective boundary that they use as a rectangle in this one. I know I've mentioned that before with them doing that with Solomonic magic. That it's suggested here too. So, and it says the manifestation of a mercurial spirit, sometimes mounted during the act of empowering the ring. This visual program matches textual traditions of celestial magic where images, prayers, and elected timing draw down planetary influence into metal. So, pretty much making a talisman.
It's a really interesting image. I think the whole rectangle thing has got me kind of interested because it looks like he's standing in front of a portal, right? And so he's supposed to be the magician on the rectangle, and he's sort of existing outside of time. And then Mercury is coming in sort of from the world. So this guy is sort of separating himself out so that he could enchant this ring. Is there a incantation or anything that goes along with this image, or is it just the image?
I couldn't get that, actually.
It's amazing. So all of these magical manuscripts, right, have so many holes in them. It's hard not to think that they might be deliberate. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Sections missing and all the rest of this stuff. Maybe that is deliberate. Maybe there is a lot more to this stuff than we know, and that's why it's so incomplete to the general public.
Yeah, you can rip off one little piece and be missing a whole pice. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It could screw a lot of things up if you're trying to understand.
Could be the key.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep, I agree with that.
But I like the medieval style on this. It's interesting that he's riding a chimeric elephant. I've never seen elephants being associated with Mercury before. It's usually, you think about fast animals and, animals that go between realms and stuff like that. But elephant with wings, that's a new one. And what kind of feet are those? Is that like lion's feet? It looks kind of like his back legs. You see that?
Yeah, let me see. Back legs. Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know. You know what they almost look like to me? Like when I was in Nashville. Was it Nashville? Or, I don't know. Yeah, it was Nashville when I filmed the one of the things in front of the Mason buildings. The legs of it were like lion legs, and they kind of had like those big front paws like that. Because it definitely doesn't look like front of the elephant. I don't know. It looks different.
Well, it's got the stripes, and the stripes kind of make me think zebra.
Yeah, right? I don't know.
And the wings, yeah, there's something to it. It's a chimera that's not exactly immediately obvious, but you definitely see the wings. And is that an altar below him?
That's what I was wondering.
Because again, you're talking about the fumigation.
That's what I was like wondering if that's like the incense burner, like the thing. Yeah, the fire to fumigate with.
Right.
Interesting. I have a star up there too.
Right. Well, I assume it has something to do with the planetary time, because that's big when it comes to charging the metals and stuff. You have to do it at certain times, which is why, let's face it, Tycho was probably really sought after by a bunch of, magic practitioners because he had everything down to the arc second, right? Within 0.001% of, that's a lot of predictive power.
Yeah.
So magicians would definitely be drawn to that.
What do we think? I think.
All right.
Yeah, that's my image. I'm sticking to it.
All right. Let's see. So I got more from Winter York.
Oh shit! I mean, I hit the vape for this one. Yeah, this might be like a season.
We could do a whole season, yeah. All right. Oh, man. It always spits me right up to the top, I got to do this on a different thing. All right. This one is labeled One Last One. I'm not sure if this should even be played on air.
Oh, geez.
This was probably the scariest thing that happened to me, and it was recorded. I'll just start from the very start of this energy. I was living in New Hampshire with my grandma as I'd left my kid's dad over that horrific roommate. My son was 3 years old, and we had a doctor's appointment in the late afternoon during a snowstorm. While waiting for the nurse to come back into the room, everything was very quiet. My son asked me, "What's that noise?" I stopped and listened because I wasn't hearing anything, but it turns out it was the ticking second hand of the clock on the wall. I started to explain the hands of the clock to him when I noticed it was stuck. The clock was stuck at 10:40. It was at 10:40. It was like 2 p.m. Then the nurse came in and she shut the door and took 2 steps. When the clock didn't drop from the wall, it flung out from the wall and glass shattered. We got my son's shoes back on and went to a different room, but the nurse found this strange. Anyway, after the appointment and the horrible blizzard driving home, we both took a nap. Now, in this dream, I was in the basement where the laundry is, and suddenly there were these giant black spiders everywhere. Then, in the corner of the old unused shower next to the washing machine, there was this tiny creature. It had the energy of a god, though. Tycho.
Little dwarf.
I forgot his name. I keep forgetting his name.
Jeppe.
Jeppe. That's right.
Yeah, Jeppe.
It was Jeppe coming out from the table. He looked like a man from the waist up, but he was all red with horns, and he had arms crossed, but his body was like a spider crab. It was like a hard shell. The message was, "Let me tell you how it is." Next, in the dream, I was upstairs holding my laundry, but I was thinking, I can't go down there. There's a demon in my basement. And then this thought came in loud and clear. My son needs clean clothes, and I need clean underwear. Who cares about the demon in the basement? Face your fears. So I went back down to the basement, and above the washing machine, where there was normally a wall, there was a hole into a bunch of tunnels. I watched this crab spider creature lead a man who is dressed in a white robe holding a lantern to physical treasure. I looked down to my side and I saw a child. I knew this man's child left behind, and I reached out to give him a hug when I woke up. The tapping of the spider crab legs turned out to be the tapping of sleet hitting my window. At this point, I thought, well, another weird dream. But here's the thing. While they were in that office doing the appointment, it was the ticking sound that the kid was asking about. So it's the ticking sound on the window, ticking sound in the office, and you've got that explosion. It's weird. Still got to go make dinner. I guess this is my life now. It dawned on me because at this point I was looking into the tarot and realized that the figure being led looked like the Hermit card. Following this, I started to try and figure out if this thing was represented in occultism, and the closest I could find was Baal. Except there were no cats or frogs, so I don't know. Now in the death tree, Belial can be like a crab. I found in this one source, I don't even know if that matters because after that, I was playing taxi to my mom and her current boyfriend to a concert. She had no time for us, but needed a ride to the concert. After she got out of the car, my son started crying that he wanted to spend time with his granny, and that in that moment, I looked back at him and saw the tears rolling down his face and saw myself as a child doing the same thing. It was as if time was standing still, and I realized it wasn't me. I deep down blamed myself, sabotaged myself, and was destroying myself on a lie that it was all my fault that my mom wasn't around. My whole life and self-dialogue was bullshit. A volcanic rage started rising up, and it went on for weeks while I worked my way through this. The lost possibilities and unnecessary pain and memories. I was shaking with pure anger at times and purging a whole lifetime of crap I had buried. Now, I ended up moving back to Arizona a few months after, as I was already experimenting in communication changes with my kid's dad, and it was working. This whole thing happened in July. In October, I get a message from my mom that she found a video in a hidden file on her phone that she didn't know existed. This video was recorded last July, not by her. She must have had accidentally hit the record button on her phone while it was in her pocket. When she found it, it was 18 minutes long, and it started out with her talking to another coworker. And once she was doing trash by herself, she works third shift at a rehabilitation center in LNA. This deep vibrational voice type thing came through. She never heard it at the time, but this video creeped her out. She thought maybe it was connected to one of the patients, but she realized it was going up and down many floors, and it moved and stayed with her. The next day, the video moved itself from her hidden files to her regular camera files and added time. Now the video was 56 minutes and 33 seconds. It begins with her talking to people, and this awful voice starts as soon as she's alone and ends when she's back around her coworkers, and the recording ends itself. My thoughts are this isn't a demon in the external sense of things, although it sounded like one. I think this was an energetic energy going back to the source from whence it came. It was really fucking creepy, though, and the only one person has heard it for more than 4 seconds before they say, okay, that's enough. Too creepy. That's awful. I could be wrong in the energetic energy, but what is a demon really? An energetic energy? Maybe I was holding on to lies that built up and created its own form that once recognized moved to the next person who needs to deal with it because it wasn't mine to hold on to anymore. I'll send over the recording if you want to hear it on a different email. This is as my phone and laptop are not connected. But this whole situation was creepy as hell. And also, if I suspect, I would have extra careful on how I direct my thoughts and emotions because it can affect another possibility. One more thing, the person that helped me out the most was David Block, who is a regular on Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio. He did an episode, I think she was talking to you about getting him on. He did an episode on my life that I emailed him desperately looking for help, and he responded and spent hours on multiple occasions helping me identify the symbology and where it fell on the tree. He didn't ask for anything. He was just helping me out of the kindness of his heart, and he might be a good guest sometime. That should be it for a while. I'm not trying to hijack your mailbag. I wish you would. I love your letters, Winter York. That's fucking amazing. That was a great story.
That recording by next week.
No, it's in there.
Yeah.
It's in there. I just it's probably gonna take some formatting.
Yeah.
But we can definitely show it next week. Exactly.
Oh yeah. That'd be awesome. We can follow up with this. Oh, this is great.
Absolutely.
Keep it coming, Winter.
Absolutely. We want more of that stuff. And if you have, your own sort of experiences, however small they may be, maybe they're dreams, maybe they're occult, whatever, just send them to me. We'll read them and we'll have fun. We even read JJ's emails, which were totally nonsensical and batshit.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
And
if
you want free stickers, let me know. Throw in your address.
Put your address in there, and I will not read your address on air, but I will send it over to Nick to get those stickers in.
And Winter, if you hear us, hit me up and send me your address, and I'll throw you some stickers.
Sure. And if she's listening now, we'd love to have her on the air. If she could be on there while we're playing the video, that would be an amazing episode. So Winter, definitely hit us up. See if we can get you on. I think that would be an amazing episode.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, we'll probably have her on a few times.
Right.
Yeah, keep it sure, like this, for sure.
So This has been Headless's Magical Mailbag. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Symbolic Studies, I see you in there. Thank you, chat. And we'll see you again next time.
Later.